When I play football, the opponents are my enemies. I want each one of them to suffer. Gennaro Gattuso is arguably one of the toughest footballers ever produced. Despite standing at just 5'10", he stood tall and struck fear into his rivals. He did not care how tall you are. He did not care if your name was Zlatan Ibrahimovic and you were nicknamed the Lion, or whether you were part of the coaching setup. Even his own manager wasn't safe. After winning the 2006 World Cup, the guy literally removed his shorts and had FIFA officials chasing him all around the pitch, begging him to stop. The guy was nuts. His ability on the pitch and his overall career is quite overlooked, but not anymore. What's good, guys? Welcome to Football Reminisce. Gennaro Ivan Gattuso was born in Corigliano, Calabro, in one of the poorest areas in Italy. From an early age, he showed determination to make ends meet for himself, joining the Perugia U team at the age of 12. 5 years later, he was promoted to the first team. He got his first taste of the Italian Serie A as the Umbrian club clinched promotion the same year. He only featured 8 times in the league that season, but it was enough to showcase his grit and how he worked to the rest of the league and the football world. It was Scottish club Rangers that came calling the next year, with manager Walter Smith impressed by the few performances by the 19-year-old. The Italian moved in the summer of 1997, but the transfer wasn't without its controversies. First, Gino was not keen on the move to Scotland until his father persuaded him. And second, Perugia took Rangers to FIFA as they believed the Scottish club was signing him illegally. Rangers eventually won the case and Gattuso was convinced and the transfer was completed. Surprisingly, Reno felt at home almost immediately, saying, "British players tackle like men. In Italy, if you tackle, then players moan to the referee." This was funny because most players would normally do the opposite and complain about the aggressive part of football, but Gattuso was different. He flourished in those conditions. He enjoyed the dirty side of the game, the physical aspects, fierce challenges, hard tackles, standing up for his teammates. This aggressive nature earned him the nickname Ringhio, which is to snarl or to growl, basically a dog of war. Having played just 10 games in the previous 2 seasons for Perugia, his playing time massively increased as soon as he joined Rangers, featuring in a total of 40 games in his debut season. Despite being in a new country and being only 19, he settled in very quickly, with his consistency and work rate appreciated by the fans, quickly becoming a cult hero. The presence of the legendary Paul Gascoigne in the Rangers team acted as a big influence for Gattuso. There was few better to learn from about fight, team spirit and leadership than Gaza. Rangers lost out on the title by only 2 points, but it was still a successful year for Reno. In the words of club chairman David Murray, Gattuso is an unsung hero. He has surpassed expectations by playing so many games aged 19. After Gattuso's first season, manager Walter Smith, the guy who brought him in, left the club to join Everton, and unfortunately for Gattuso, the new manager Dick Advocaat wasn't keen on his style of play in midfield and pushed him to the right back position. Gattuso and Rangers decided to part ways in October of 1998. Juventus and newly promoted Salernitana expressed their interest in the 20-year-old. Surprisingly, Reno rejected the old lady, who by the way had been in 3 consecutive Champions League finals. He moved to Salernitana for £4 million instead. A big challenge ahead considering this was the club's first season in the top flight for 50 years. The club managed some big home wins against Juventus, Inter Milan, Roma and Lazio, but were eventually relegated, finishing just 1 point from safety. For Reno, it was another successful season, showcasing his unique combative box-to-box style of play to many different scouts. After Salernitana's relegation, he was once again highly sought after by teams in Italy and Europe. This time, it was AC Milan that pipped the competition to his signature for €8 million. Next up, San Siro. And this would be where Gennaro Gattuso would stamp his name as one of the greatest ever defensive midfielders to play the game. The AC Milan faithful warmed up to him almost immediately, his standout performance coming in the Milan derby in a 2-1 win against Inter. The fans praising his efforts against the previous year's Ballon d'Or winner, none other than Ronaldo. Gattuso's first 3 seasons at San Siro were quite disruptive as AC Milan changed managers twice after 3 underwhelming years in which Milan didn't win a single trophy. This led to Carlo Ancelotti's arrival in November of 2001. This appointment would escalate Reno's career tremendously. In Carlo's first full season, he switched the formation to a 4-3-1-2, allowing the side to play with the front line of Inzaghi and Shevchenko, with either Rui Costa or Rivaldo in behind. Undoubtedly, the biggest change was moving Pirlo from an attacking midfield position to a more defensive one, forming a formidable partnership with Gattuso. It would be unforgivable if we didn't talk about that combination. We always hear about striker partnerships, centre-back partnerships, and a couple of others, but rarely hear about midfield partnerships. Of course, there's been a couple throughout the years, but few accomplished the success which Pirlo and Reno did at both club level and international level. The former provided the control and creativity from a deep-lying position, while the latter provided the energy, work rate, and tenacity next to him. They complemented each other perfectly. Not only that, off the pitch, they kept on developing a strong bond, one that many wouldn't have expected. The nice introverted guy with kept hair and the wild rugged guy who was ready to get into any fight with anyone. No, seriously, anyone and everyone. The guy was crazy. The two had first come across each other in the under-15s and won the under-21 Euros together. The success did not end there. They guided both AC Milan and Italy to numerous accolades. On an individual level, Gattuso continued to improve his game season in, season out. Technically, pace-wise, awareness, leadership, consistency were some of the aspects that took a massive boost. He also covered in different positions when required. Fullback, wingback, centre-back, he filled in whenever he could. I've banged on a lot about his determination and grit, but we also need to prove it, right? Well, one of the most significant moments came in a match against Catania in 2008. Reno went down, clutching his knee early in the game, but after being treated by the physio, he swiftly returned and played the entire 90 minutes. To everyone's shock, it was reported after the game that he had actually torn his ACL. The man featured for an entire match with one of the worst injuries you could get in football. Further proof of his determination and unmatched toughness. He obviously ended up missing a few games that season, but apart from that year, he was regularly in the team throughout his successful 13-year trophy-laden stay at the club. He featured 468 times for AC Milan, winning 2 Serie A titles, 2 Champions League trophies, 2 Super Cups, 2 Supercoppa Italiana trophies, 1 Coppa Italia, and 1 Club World Cup. On top of that, he reached the pinnacle of football, leading Italy to the 2006 World Cup. Once again, his combination with Pirlo in the engine room playing a key role. How important was he? Well, he picked up an assist for Inzaghi in the final group match against Czech Republic. He won the Man of the Match award in the quarterfinal against Ukraine. He made the most challenges in the tournament, 11 more than the runner-up. He made the All-Star team, and he obviously caused a headache for the officials chasing him around to get him to wear shorts after winning the trophy. So, quite the tournament for him. After 13 years at the San Siro, Gattuso moved to Switzerland to play for Sion and eventually hung up his boots after just 1 season in the Swiss Super League. It's quite difficult, almost impossible, to find footballers of Reno's kind. His feisty nature did get him in a lot of trouble most of the time, but his contributions can never be understated. He would do anything to win the battle. Yes, he would sometimes lose control, but his nature made his teammates trust him and his rivals fear him, and results followed. He is definitely a guy you would want in your corner in a war. They don't make him like Gattuso anymore.